Southeast Texas Weekly, brought to you by the Modern Vein Surgery Institute at Privity Clinic for Surgical Care.
Hello again and welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. I'm Kevin Steele. Great to have you with us here for our political show, which we do every couple of weeks. Joining me to talk about politics on a momentous week, the great Kent Batman, the Hardin County GOP chairman. Good to see you,
Thank
sir.
you. Good to be here, Jeff.
I can't reach all of you, but the
It's
great
all right.
Godfrey Leggett is also
Nice
here.
to be here, Kevin.
Democratic activist, the great Jeff Lewis here as well, GOP activist. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, good to see you guys.
Great to have you with us. By the way, let's take a full screen. One of our number is not here today, the great Michael Lindsay. Why? He is now, well, he's been board certified to practice before the United States Supreme Court. This is our own Michael Lindsay on the steps of SCOTUS. He has now been admitted to practice before the Supremes. Big news for Michael Lindsay. He can't be with us today, so we'll move on, but we wanted to tell you all about that. Big week, guys, the GOP takeover of the United States Senate. Broadly speaking, what does it mean? Do conservatives now look forward to an era of enlightenment with
Wouldn't that
new
be nice?
legislation?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Jeff Lewis is happy, and there are nothing but rainbows throughout the day. What's the latest?
Well, you know, it was a pretty good night
It
as
was a
far as
good
that
night.
goes. I think the biggest surprise really came not so much as the Senate, because I mean most of us expected the Senate to flip, but I think it really came with the holds in the governor races, because you're looking at Charlie Crist is defeated in Florida, Rick Scott holds on. That's got big 2016 implications. Scott Walker and is going to hold on in Wisconsin. He could be very well possibly a presidential nominee hopeful. We're talking about. Several governor races across the state.
Y'all got a lot of good.
That was a very,
good
very
races.
good.
Good. Okay.
So it was a great night for the GOP. Was it a great night
Well, now
for America?
now they have to do something with it. Okay.
Well,
They have the
give
tar
us your
baby.
perspective. Is it dangerous for the GOP right now?
Yeah, because
really,
if
it's
they
at a
don't
place
do
where
anything, they're going to look really bad. And all I see them doing is arguing over old news.
old news.
Old news like
I
Obamacare,
predict there will be a
apparently.
lot of things done right away. Immediately, they'll start tearing apart portions of the Obamacare that the American people don't like. And that'll be easy to pass. Obama's talking about executive orders. I looked it up. Looks like there's a dispute as to whether they can overturn an executive order with 60 votes or 66 votes. But you only got to pick up about nine
You do
Democrats.
know that, y'all hate me talking about George W., but he passed a lot more executive orders than Obama has in his whole career.
Okay, but none have been so earth-shattering as
Well,
to
I'll
legalize.
tell you what, we're going to find out about the limits of
11 million
congressional-
people.
We're going to find out about the
illegally.
limits of congressional authority here.
Well, I think
okay?
that's what we're going to find out. Things
Yeah.
like
and,
that.
And
that
this
is-
will actually be a pretty historic, couple years in that case, because we're going to set a lot of precedents here. We're going to see how we're going to see if the system really works.
Well, we'll find out.
I think that is the key.
But you
Does
still
the
have
system
to-
work, and do the senators and congressmen work? I mean, that's
Well,
the key.
As
Yeah.
long as we're passing continuing resolutions, which is all we passed for the last 30 years,
And
we have to get down to actually looking at department by department funding, have a budget for this department, a budget for this department, instead of these stupid continuing resolutions.
but we do always remember that the last time that Congress had a balanced budget, several years in a row, was when Newt Gingrich took control of the Congress. We had
And
Republican
Bill Clinton
Congress and
was-
Senate.
Bill Clinton was.
Well, we have
We
the
had
same,
the-
we have the same
Biden
situation.
Democrat.
We have a Democrat president. We have Republican Senate and
It
Congress.
might be a good thing.
Possibly.
It might be a good
Maybe
thing.
it'll happen.
Let's see what happens.
Jeff, let me give you a couple of moments to expound upon this matter of setting a budget, because right now essentially is a time, and Godfrey will have you weigh in as well. Right now essentially is a time where the Republicans don't really want to pass a budget immediately because of something just brought up, the immigration reform matter. If the president should act unilaterally, which it appears that he will in terms of an executive order on this matter of immigration reform, there are Republicans that would like to be able to defund it, so to speak. And there's some precedent for conservatives having done so in the past to try to defund parts of Obamacare. Remember in the day, there's some thought, you don't want to pass a budget bill right off, and yet we're hearing some of that happening, that there are some plans in the works for a budget deal. What are your thoughts on the immigration reform? Will the GOP act rapidly to prevent the president from trying to pass that?
That's pretty
Do his
complicated,
executive
because
order.
if you do the executive order, it it's all a matter of timing at this point. I think that you could probably go ahead and do a budget, and then they could, probably go behind there, and
Yeah,
if
but-
they need to pass any other legislation after any executive order is passed, you could also always do an amendment and get that passed. So I don't see why it holds it
President
up.
still has to sign off on all this, and he can do a signing statement like George Bush did, and line item veto things.
You
he
must
doesn't
love
like.
George Bush.
I just love
because
it
you
that
keep
you
comparing
guys-
him to Obama
you guys
every
are-
day.
you guys
They
are
must be
gonna
the two greatest presidents
he
ever.
set a precedent, okay? And so now, my president may use that precedent that he set, that you won't like in that way.
But would you argue that it's not exactly fair to lump the executive orders of George W. Bush with the
Signing
inclusion
statements?
of 4.5 million new citizens to the United States? Because that's the latest reports.
Pretty big order. But the other thing that results, George Bush didn't give the Democrats 2 houses of the legislative branch, but Obama did give Republicans 2 houses of the
Well,
legislative branch.
it's only just for 2 years.
At least
Well,
two. At least 2
well,
years. not
actually,
any less.
I don't believe in the 1,000-year right.
on that note, had we only gotten 51, 52 in the House and in the Senate, you can make an argument that we would lose that 2016. We're going to be at 54, it looks like. And that actually makes it a 50-50 chance of us holding. That's a big hold, especially if we win a
The
presidency.
big problem for the Republicans is if they spend all their time over petty issues that won't do the country any good.
You mean like climate
Obamacare.
change?
Like Obamacare.
Like war on
No, really,
women?
if you guys take Obamacare away, you're going to have a whole bunch of people that need help, and you're going to have to figure out some way to take care of them.
I'll
okay?
tell you why y'all lost last week is because you think
'Cause we didn't
Obamacare
get out
is a
and
petty
vote.
issue.
No, because we didn't get out and vote.
Yeah,
No,
let's
I'm talking
talk about voting.
Suing over Benghazi and the
And petty
IRS and all
issues.
this.
Why not?
Petty issues.
We'll talk about more
Nonsense.
petty issues when Southeast
healthcare
Texas
is a petty
Weekly
issue.
continues.
No, I didn't say
Stay
that.
with us.
You're taking.